Think we're live. We might be live. I don't really know. That's how the year has gone. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Question mark. I'm Ken Knapsack. I think that's Alden Diaz.
I've been told.
You've been told. Okay. We exist. This is real. We're here. Thanks to those who are watching later and are kind of like, what's gone on? What's happened? We're live. We weren't live earlier. Well, we kind of were live. Alden, 2023, that's our focus here today. It's the year in review. It's a look back, and that's kind of how the year went. You thought it was working, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, you had the appearance of working. All the social media posts and everything that made your life look great. But on the inside, you were crumbling and your systems weren't connecting.
Systems weren't a go. Man, yeah, it's a long story. It happens every now and then. We're happy to use the fine folks at StreamYard Services, though they don't love 1080 unless you pay a little extra. And also, the moment you think it's working and you press go live, it disconnects everything every so often. But we're here. Alden, are you ready to look back at the end of the year? How do we even do that anymore is part of our questioning here today.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and it's something we'll get to later, as I get older, does the end of the year matter as much? Does it all bleed together? Are we still in 2020? That's a valid question. It feels like it sometimes.
You said in a promotional tweet for this, this is 2020 part 3, and I really feel that. I think that's a fun joke to make, but it's also a hard truth. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. The isolation, the depression, the seemingly never-ending, unprecedented news stories. And here we are, about to enter part 4.
About to enter part 4, indeed. And for those of you watching live, I think you know who we are, where to find us. For those watching later, this is Anytime with Ken and Alden. You can follow us on social media at Anytime On Air. You're watching this on the Ken Knapsack, Hey, That's Me YouTube channel, live every Friday. But don't forget, we also have our own YouTube channel. We rebroadcast these episodes, put up segments and clip outs, and more things coming in 2024. So help us build up that channel at the same time as watching here by subscribing over there. But also, you can subscribe to this channel. I got This Day in History videos, 20 minutes of coffee. I scream at Madden football on game streams. It's a whole lot of fun around these parts. And Alden, this has been a fun experiment to start during the holidays, but we're ready next year for a full year of robust broadcasting.
Absolutely. And again, it's like I don't ever want anyone to think that these were not canon episodes. They absolutely were. These are canon. You can call it a soft launch. You can call it a sort of a lead up. But everything that we've had since early conversations of guests and segments and new things all coming in 2024. Maybe Ken will play Fortnite on air. Out of the two of us, one of us plays Fortnite, and it's not me.
It's the old guy.
Strange.
Yeah. And I'm not bad at it. I'm not great at it, but I'm not bad at it. You can tell I used to work in the mall industry in the public safety arena for a long time when I used the term soft launch. That's big. The Apple Store's opening up on Sunday, but there's a soft launch on Friday. I think I've spent 17 years saying that term. And thank you for calling it out as maybe time to put that to bed. I don't know.
No, I think soft launch is fine. I mean, restaurants do soft openings, right? And I guess soft launch could be, I guess when you upload like your music, but you don't start promoting properly until like I think there's merit to that. And in the terms of like corporate words that need to die, soft launch doesn't make it to my chopping block.
It's not a top 10 of corporate words that must go away.
No, not yet.
I respect that. Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Before we dive into the news and take a look back, we love to start the show with a fun little segment that says a lot about our souls. Alden, what Ben Affleck are we?
Oh, boy. What Ben Affleck are we? And it's even funnier after a little bit of a technical hiccup. This Ben right here. This Ben,
Ben.
I love him because you could tell he's like, yep, this is my day. Like, he doesn't look angry, but everything is clearly out of control. He's trying to stay awake with that Dunkin'. He's got his different packages, that box at the bottom. He's just trying to, like, even somebody of Oscar-winning, multi-million-dollar career caliber is not immune to the overwhelming nature of trying to exist.
This is the perfect way to end the year because it's that smile. We've seen so many Affleck pictures that don't have that smile, and that stack of packages, and all of it held up by a straw in his mouth, and he's still smiling. That is a good energy to take into 2024. I think you've done a great job finding the truth in the Affleck in all of us.
One day when Ben's on this show, I'm gonna be like, Ben, can you smile just once organically for us? Yeah, I think it's definitely, I mean, as we are known to do, to bring up Star Wars, like that Ben Affleck gives me Han Solo energy. Like, did I do it cleanly, well constructed? That no, but I got through it. And
got through it, dude. Love it. Love it. Well, that is the Affleck of it all. But now it is time to look at the news of the world. Here's a look at some of the headlines making the world spin this week. As always, there are a lot of big stories with worldwide ramifications, but at the risk of sounding petty and trivial, let's start with Nikki Haley failing 8th grade history. This week, one of the last remaining Republican candidates for president, Nikki Haley, held a town hall campaign event in Berlin, New Hampshire, and was asked the most tricky and subversive question yet. What was the cause of the United States Civil War? Gotcha! And as you all probably know by now, the former governor of the first state to secede and launch an old-timey cannonball at the Union stumbled in her response, saying the big issues were about how the government was going to run, and I'm quoting here, the freedoms and what people could and could not do. The freedoms to do what, Nikki? What did the 11 states that eventually formed the Confederacy want to have the freedom to do, Nikki? Nikki? She initially couldn't say slavery when the person asking the question said he was astonished that in 2023 she wouldn't mention it. Nikki asked, well, what do you want me to say about slavery? I don't know, Nikki. Anything about it. Haley later on said, of course it was about slavery in a follow-up interview, but then suggested that the person asking the question was a Democrat plant. Okay. Now, history is a fragile, woven basket of nuance and complicated truths. Yes, that is absolutely true. Lincoln ran on the idea of preserving the Union as opposed to ending slavery right then and there. People of the North didn't exactly jump at the idea of being on the front lines to free slaves, leading in part to the 1863 draft riots, but even that was wrought with issues based around the economic disparity of those going to war versus those not going to war, the treatment of Irish immigrants, and fears that freed slaves would replace them in the workforce. That sounds familiar. And yeah, states' rights, again, the right to do what, Nikki, was the big thesis statement floating above all of it. There's a lot to the story of the Civil War, which is why there are so many wonderful documentaries about it for middle-aged white men like me to spend years watching. But all roads lead to slavery. But Nikki couldn't say that because her voter base, you know, the ones that used to be Dixiecrats before the very much not mythical party switch in the 1940s and 50s, would turn on her faster than a Trump cabinet member looking for a book deal. And when you can't face those truths in your own party and continue to let the myths, lies, and lost causes dominate the conversation, you are part of a news story with worldwide ramifications. Nikki, good luck in your eventual clash with the guy who recently quoted Hitler to great applause from his own voter base. Speaking of complicated histories and hard truths, let's take a look at the Middle East. AKA, can this jackass try to summarize the week in a short enough segment that also takes into account thousands and thousands of years of history? The instability in the region is growing in a way that one day might be remembered by your drunk uncle at a family Christmas party as the actual start of World War III. Well, that and Putin. Now go tell your aunt her new husband is a doofus. As Israel continues to press on with the destruction of Hamas to the tune of 21,000 people now reported dead in Gaza, they are talking about expanding the fight with a new front line to the north. This because Lebanon-based Hezbollah forces continue to say, we've got next. And now, U.S. troops are finding themselves increasingly in a crossfire hurricane of rockets and missiles, leading to a U.S. strike on pro-Iranian Hezbollah militia fighters in Iraq. Meanwhile, Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels are striking commercial and U.S. military ships in the Red Sea as a response to Israel's actions in Gaza, something that could upset the world's economy thanks to prominent shipping lanes being affected. And Iran is accusing Israel of killing a senior Islamic Revolutionary Guard leader in a strike in the Syrian capital of Damascus. Iran, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Israel. Folks, that's a Middle East bingo, and we're one assassination of Archduke Ferdinand away from absolute hell being unleashed. But at least Christopher Nolan will turn it into an Oscar bait film one day. We all have that. The U.S. Department of Justice is threatening to sue Governor and classic 80s movie villain Greg Abbott over the new Texas law that allows Texas law enforcement agencies to arrest migrants, saying it violates the U.S. Constitution. The bill, I'm just a bill, a thinly veiled racist bill. The bill was recently signed into law by Abbott and gives authority to law enforcement to arrest said migrants and judges the power to issue deportation orders of said migrants. Now, let's also add that, yes, there are massive issues at the U.S. southern borders, including a large surge of people right now trying to come into our country, the land of promised milk and honey to the most of the world that we brag about but don't want you to taste. And the federal government is supposed to be handling border security. And fine, upstanding, God-fearing folks like Greg Abbott contend they have to take these actions to make up for what the feds aren't doing. And you know what? I'll say maybe that's so. It's a hard truth indeed. We have to face that. The recent immigrant surge has prompted talks between the U.S. and Mexico, in which the United States basically said, hey, amigos, like a white woman ordering another margarita at a Mexican chain restaurant, can we get you to, help us out with all of this a bit? The talks were said to be productive and are going to resume, I think, next month, they said. So tell your parents that hopefully, yes, the fentanyl being brought into the country will slow down and they can go back to their normal lives without fear of overdosing on fentanyl. So, while, yes, acknowledging the existence of the humanitarian crisis, we do go back to this law that gives authority for local and state law enforcement to round up migrants and punt them down the river like a football team trying to control field position. What does a migrant look like? Sure. Easy answer, you say, especially at the border, but the nearly 40% of the Texas population that might, share a slight resemblance to people trying to find a better life, the one that you're enjoying in this country, are a little worried that their civil rights could and will be too easily violated in the name of securing the border, which is why the ACLU has also filed a lawsuit to halt this. Critics and folks who love to play devil's advocate instead of finding better ways to help the world would say, then come here legally because, hey, if you're doing nothing wrong, then what's there to fear? To which we quote the future New Republic Chancellor Mon Mothma from the definitely not political Star Wars show Andor, I'm fearing your definition of wrong. And in this case, I'm fearing Texas authorities who think you look like their definition of wrong. Pay attention to this one because the road to the White House just might run through the southern border. And finally, a little small but sad note. This week we said goodbye to folk singer, comedian, and activist Tom Smothers. Tommy and his brother Dick first tasted success with their 1967 variety show, The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, and their whip-smart wit combined with good-time, wholesome folk music catapulted is a great word, catapulted them to the top of American television rating charts. But soon, very soon, Tom and Dick led the charge in the growing counterculture movement and used their art to speak out against political and social injustice. It cost them their show, but Tommy and Dick went on entertaining and speaking out almost until the end. Tom Smothers' legacy is not just charming yo-yo tricks or perfecting the art of making yourself the punchline for satirical effect. It is what you believe. It is the fact that what you believe always should be found in the art you create. Tom Smothers was 86. Alden, that's the news. My teleprompter ran a little too fast. Anything you want to chat about here today?
Well, I am, as always, both amazed that you can write those, but also that the year provides in such a way. It would not be a 2023 wrap-up if we did not just have to take a second and say, my God, could there be a chill week, please, and thank you. But I have to hone in on this Nikki Haley stuff because nothing brings me more joy in discourse, and I think I speak for a lot of people, especially in my age bracket, than being able to say states' rights to what is it's one of the greatest comebacks of all time, and to be able to use it on the grand stage of national discourse is pretty damn funny, I must say, because I've never ever seen somebody counter it in a way that is even remotely intellectual or satisfactory, because there isn't an answer to it.
I love breaking things down to simple things, and that's it for me. States' rights to do what, and look, there's always, and that's my point, and even what I'm saying in the news, there's always bigger conversations, there's always harder truths, and people have to face it on both sides. I can't tell you the amount of conversations that I have had with my mother, who loves Abraham Lincoln, and I do too, but you have to actually look at some of the stuff. It wasn't this, everyone, let's pick up the American flag and end slavery. That was not the path to the Civil War for him or others. It was preserving the Union. And so, yes, I've always loved the full, robust, historic conversations. But right now, with all the history you know, it leads to one road. And when you can't say it, I don't even know if she believes that, Alden. I just know she knows she can't say that, or she'll lose the people she's trying to get to vote for her. And that's the biggest problem of it all. It's a silly little news story that we might forget, but that's the bigger story.
Absolutely. I mean, it speaks to the entire way that that voter base, especially, has worked over the last 6, 7 years. In
Yeah.
terms of, even if you don't personally hold that belief, you
Mm-hmm.
decided that throwing away a stance was worth everything else, or throwing
Yeah.
away a conviction, or throwing someone else under the bus. This whole well, it must have been a Democrat plant who tried to throw me off, and that speaks to the same mentality as when people are like, "Well, I wanted to pick a businessman," and it's like, okay, well, let's say that,
Yes.
let's assume that, even if he was the greatest businessman that ever lived, which he's not, bankrupt 6 times,
Yeah.
multiple fraud cases, uh, is that worth all the other stuff?
Yeah.
So, is
Yeah.
denying that slavery was the cause worth all the other stuff? And honestly, let's be logical for a second. Is it
Mhm.
worth just what, the silver? Like, you're
The
not
silver, the
gonna be the
silver.
person.
She,
You're
yeah,
not.
she might be running for VP here, essentially, in her mind, and yeah, and there's a lot of the things, a lot of the stories from Colorado, Maine, Trump on the ballot, not on the ballot. That'll sort itself out, and I'm just, it's fun to put some obstacles in front of that man in his run back to the White House, but we'll deal with that in time. This is what it's about here, and then going back to the history aspect, Ted Cruz this morning, or at least I saw it this morning because social media is just absolutely fractured. It put out the thing of, because Biden responded, hey, or the official Twitter account of Biden responded, hey, it was about slavery, and Ted Cruz was like, yeah, it was about slavery. You're right, and the Republicans fought to free the slaves, and Democrats fought them tooth and nail. And to stop reading the history book right there is the problem. To not
Yeah.
turn the page, to not get to the Dixiecrats, to not get to the stuff like the Southern strategy, the parties, lost cause mythology that was absolutely amplified by Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, in the 1910s. That's also part of the conversation. But man, don't they love stopping right there? Because my mom, and I don't, mom, I don't, I'm not picking you out, but picking on you, but I hear that all the time. Well, Lincoln was a Republican. Yes, in 1860. I think he also ran under the Union Party in in 1864. But
Mhm.
that's 1860. History went on and things change. Absolutely. And there was a lot of people when Harry Truman was saying, we should maybe hang out with everyone here, not segregate. A lot of Southern Democrats were like, we don't belong here anymore. We're going to find a party that connects to our bigoted beliefs. And they did. And that party is what Nikki Haley is running under right now. Read the rest of history. It's always going to be complicated, but read it all.
Yeah, I'm consistently mind blown by their refusal to acknowledge, the shift in the parties, their refusal to acknowledge really anything. I mean, again, we forget, because we've had now this period of the Biden administration to, I'm not going to say cure anything, because I certainly don't feel much different, but I think it has created a mental distance, but from the
Yeah.
2020 era, the
Mm.
16 to 20 era, and it's like, this is still the alternative facts party. This is
Yeah.
still the Trump publican. This is still the
The Trump.
the MAGA right. Like,
Yeah.
it's still that. Just because it's not Bannon and Kellyanne Conway and Sessions every day doesn't mean that it's not still the same game.
God,
You know,
you're naming off some all stars there that I forgot played.
I
God,
know those are like
some of those.
the Separatist Council early war versus like
Yeah.
later on. Like,
Man, that's tough. And quickly looking at the other things that I hate to say quickly on some very important stories, the Middle East situation, and I always put quotations around situation because there's how do you describe just such horrible tragedies left and right? And again, all complicated truths, all thousands and thousands of years of history that need to be taken account into the story without a doubt. But it's I don't know how you feel as a younger person, Alden. I have for the first time since like '84 when I was told a nuke was going to drop on me every day of my life. I have that feeling of is this World War III? Like is this is this part of that World War II doc where people say, well, actually, when Japan did this in 1937 and Germany, that was kind of the start of the war. Like it's getting a little frightening, and I that's part of our end of the year discussion. We'll get back to though.
yeah, I do feel a little bit of that paranoia and anxiety. It is different contextually, like you said, the age bracket stuff, because
Hmm.
we grew up in endless war, like it was
Oh yeah,
already
you've had it
happening.
easy, right? You've had it completely
Yeah.
easy for the last
Yeah. Oh,
20
yeah.
years, right?
It's so easy being the 9/11 kindergartners that, I don't even remember an airport that
Hmm.
wasn't a surveillance state. But
Yeah.
it's interesting in the weirdest, most horrible, most disheartening way to be in this period. Like you said, the early documentary period. Like this is where the
Hmm.
talking heads will be there. And
Yeah.
I was having a conversation the other day about, yes, is Biden doing things that are absolutely reprehensible to many of us, especially in my age group? Yeah, 100%. I'm
Hmm.
on the record saying
Hmm.
funding genocide is like circle of hell level stuff.
Hmm.
But I hold that belief at the same time holding the belief of I don't ever want to see the timeline where it's Donald Trump
Yeah.
handling this same situation.
Yeah.
And is that a lesser evils thing? Yes. But do I think lesser evil is part of reality? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so it's grim, and we'll continue to talk about it and cover it as we get to 2024. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's hard to even be in the holidays. It's hard to everything, not to center us as like, oh, our lives are hard, but you
Right. I get
feel
you.
a little bit of that. Yeah, you feel a little bit
Yeah.
of like the
Yeah. Yeah.
this
My
is this doesn't
Christmas.
matter.
Yeah, my Christmas was okay compared to the
Yeah,
rest
exactly.
of this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, I loved your perspective on it, and the theme since we launched the show has been multiple truths, and that just means hey, there's full discussions to be had. I just always want my true north to point towards empathy and understanding the perspective of others, and we'll come back to this conversation and look back at the year of this story, this quote unquote situation. It has been just this Rorschach test that a lot of people have failed on all
Mhm.
sides of the arguments. I think because it was just it's we're not built for this kind of rapid discussion of such powerful, complicated things. But we're here to have fun trying to I guess.
Yeah, and that in and of itself right there is sort of an encapsulation of 2023, as we
Yeah,
are going to be talking about here in from a few different angles, whether that's key stories or entertainment or whatever.
yeah,
This year has been a lot of that. We weren't meant to take in this much. We weren't meant to process this much.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
but we still had to. I mean, if you just look at like, by the end of the episode, people get more of our perspectives on these things. But just in the rundown of this episode in our private notes has things
Yeah,
like that I had not forgotten about, but had put to the back of my mind because I don't have the bandwidth. Like I
yeah,
literally until today had forgotten about, let's say, the Titanic submarine tragedy. I'd
right,
forgotten
right,
almost entirely about the fires. I had forgot, like, and not because I literally forgot, but because I don't the rotation is not, there's the circumference of the rotation is not
yeah.
possible to have that all in.
That's part of what we're going to discuss. And final news story, other than rest in peace, Tommy Smothers. And I apologize for my teleprompter slipping away from me, Tommy. There's a legacy there that is worth diving into if you all aren't familiar with the story of the Smothers brothers. They were truly good time, wholesome entertainers, folk singers who did some comedy. And they looked around the world and they weren't totally in your face. Dick Smothers has always said we even you could have called us moderate at the time, but we knew we had to say something about what was going on, politics, LBJ, into Nixon, Vietnam, and that was one of the first instances where a very popular set of American entertainers said enough. We got to say something because art has meaning. Art is communication, and paid the price professionally. Though they went on to have a nice long career. We could all hope so for our own selves, but that's a legacy too that I want to talk about maybe another time. But quickly, again, swinging through the immigration story, it's complicated as well, and I don't want anyone who votes with me to look away from it and to not see that there's something that needs to be done. But what I think you and I, Alden, might agree on, and I want your full thoughts on it if you want to give them. But it's like there's a problem. But are we solving it by trying to find the right way to bring people in, let people in, and to manage people coming in, or are you just leaning in on your fear that we can't have them here? And those are the conversations I have outside of YouTube and Twitter and social media, and that's what I look for in folks.
Yeah, I agree with you, and especially just in terms of like the disconnect of you're lying, and we all know you are. There's a great meme that went around for our friends in the UK that was a little doodle of the prime minister, like, we have to protect our own, and then it's like British citizen walks up, can I have like some benefits or whatever? And he's like, fuck off. Like it's that level of, you don't actually want to help the people here, so don't use us as your scapegoat. Right. And then the next thing, of course, is the lies. Like, if you want the situation at the border to be better, did it ever occur to you to spend money to make it better, safer, to make the long, like, and when I say long, it's an understatement, paperwork processes streamlined and easier, to use the power of computers to empower lawyers? Like, you do nothing, and then you yell it's in shambles.
I'm so not an expert on this, but it's something that I think I've turned away from for a while, because it just, I don't know. And look, there's some talking points and build the wall and this and that. And you want to find the truth behind it. You want to find what you really think about it. And at the end of the day, that's why that New York draft riot story had a lot to do with how Irish immigrants are being treated. And also this fear in the North of, well, if we free all these slaves, they're going to come replace us. Those replacement theories run strong today, and they do filter into the conversations on how people look at the humanitarian crisis down there as well. So, is the answer busing people to faraway cities, tricking them onto buses and dropping them off so they miss their appointments and can't start their life right? That's not the answer I would seek, but maybe some people do, Alden. I don't know.
Yeah, it's entirely based in fear, and it does not inspire a lot of confidence to see how gullible people are. And then again, like we talk about so many topics on the show, and a big theme along with multiple truths is that these are all connected issues. I can't put any faith, or I don't currently, I'd love to be wrong, I don't put any faith in people to solve this problem when some of those same people are the ones that stand there and yes, of course, when their pick for who should be the leader of the quote unquote free world is talking about, the evil of windmills and whales dying and how lemonade didn't kill people when he was in office. So
yeah, absolutely. So a lot more to discuss on those issues. Of course, we want to move on to the main part of the discussion today. And as we bring in a sonic change, Alden, let's talk about the year in review, 1919. Oh my God, 1999, 2023. Trust me, it seems like yesterday. Alden, where do you want to go with this? How are you looking back? What do you want to talk about?
I mean, we've sort of sectioned off entertainment to its own thing, like we are known to do. So we will cover it there. I'm pulling up this list here because I just want people to have just an idea before we stop anywhere. We have the war, the Hawaii fires, corporation layoffs, the ongoing COVID situation, which I don't know if people remember. There's a pandemic happening. AI arriving.
It ended this year. I heard it.
That's right. PLD. Wait, it's not 1999. Man, PLD. It can be if you want to be. Why don't you throw on Phantom Menace? And get some Pizza Hut and invite us over. Trump turns himself in. Russia versus Ukraine. Another situation that is, whether people want it to or not, still happening. Civil war in the Sudan, and over 600 mass shootings here in the U.S. of A. Now, I just, and by the way, that's just one section. There are two more sections in our rundown. It's like unfathomable to think that all of this happened in a year, but that's been the case of all these years. That's why we joke about 2020 continuing, and because it just feels like it hasn't ended. I mean, the COVID of it all and the wars and everything, it's been hard, I guess, as a starting point to feel hopeful for anything. Although I guess when the good things have hit, sort of like our labor movement that we'll talk about, especially in the entertainment world, those things I think have hit harder because of how awful everything's been. The glimmers are much brighter.
Oh yeah, you hold on to the glimmers. Yeah, absolutely. I think like, look, I'm someone who's still, when he can and when he remembers, and quite frankly, to be honest, I check in on what's going on in Ukraine, not only because of my cultural connection to the area, my grandmother from Kiev, but it still has important, potentially very important ramifications if it goes one way. The only hope I'll have is, at least, I don't know. There's more, seems to be more engagement with the war is the special operation, as Putin and his men will say, versus even like, look, I got the civil war in Sudan is still an absolute crisis and horrifying when you read about it, but people don't engage with that, right? People just don't. It's put in a corner for various reasons, and there's probably a lot of reasons we all could talk about. But I do like that there's still engagement around the Ukraine issue. That people, not just the politician and talking heads, but people around me. I still have friends I text like, "Hey, did you hear this? Oh, here's an update." Shout out to my boy Christian Ruvagaba over at Wanger's. He wants to always bring me on the Wanger show to talk about Ukraine. That's a hope I'll take. Is we are, there's so much going on, but we're, at least I think the world's paying attention more.
Absolutely. I mean, at the San Francisco, I believe, Fan Expo, Ivana Sakno, who played Shin Hati in Ahsoka, she's from the Ukraine, and she's part of that ambassador group of artists and young people, and she has pictures on her Instagram with Zelensky. Like, she knows this man personally and deeply connected. And somebody, thank God, somebody took the opportunity to use, because fan Q&As are horrible and they should mostly be abolished. But somebody who of Ukrainian heritage was asked her straight up, like, how did that affect your work and your performance? It's moments like that, or moments of your friends reaching out saying, come on and talk about this, or moments of people saying, hey, I hear you and I see you, especially because it doesn't really have a set news story outside of Melissa Barrera from Scream, but there's a blacklist happening right now. They're not going to call it that outright, but some, are you now or have you ever been shit is happening in these fields and our fields, of who's going to, like, think about some places you've worked. You really think that some of those bosses that you and I have had would openly let us say, yeah, what's happening is a genocide. Yeah, don't forget Ukraine. Yeah, let's talk about Sudan. They wouldn't. And so it's equal parts. Like, the more frustrating it gets, the more heartening it is when somebody says, hey, don't forget about this.
Yeah, which is why I get so upset about the conversations about movies just as entertainment, which they absolutely can and should be at times. But the great life of Tommy Smothers comes back into my mind, and it's not new. The Smothers Brothers have always been two of my favorites, and a fascinating story. There's a great doc about their show. There's a book out there as well. But just how he spoke out from a position of privilege, it was lost on me for a long time, in part because you're talking about our bosses that might not have let us say anything. I had, communities that would say someone like Tommy Smothers hanging out with John Lennon and Yoko Ono at their bed-in for peace, that made him weird. That made him an outcast, a hippie, a counterculture person. Don't follow him. Don't be like him. And now, years later, I'm looking back at all those kind of artists. David Bowie was described as weird to me growing up. But here's David Bowie in the early 80s on MTV going, you don't play black artists. Why? I need to know why. It's important to not just speak out as a buzzword, but just be engaged and be willing to use your art to communicate your ideas behind it all and for it all.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. There's a million different ways to stay engaged too, and none of them are wrong. I think that's a big thing, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, on many future episodes, especially as we get closer to the election. An election year is coming. I should say a big election year. The idea of people sort of like cannibalizing the people that agree with them because they didn't engage in quote unquote the right way is a huge issue, especially in our age group. But yeah, I mean, in this list here,
what age group? Yours or mine?
Well, I probably both in different ways. But God, these 20 somethings, man. Some of you 20 somethings out there, you drive me crazy. Layoffs have been horrible. We talked about that with Hasbro and Wizards and people that we know that were affected. This happened to me in 2022 instead of 2023, but we've both been there different times. That's not inspiring a lot of confidence as we get to the end of the year.
No, look, I want to talk about it a little bit because 2023, I was watching, I'm going to shout out the fine folks at Vox. Have they done anything wrong lately? Maybe, I don't know. But they had a year in review video I was watching to kind of prep myself for this. And they highlighted the year in labor unrest, right? The year of the strikes, the year of unions. And that's been frustrating, but it's also encouraging. But it's looking where I'm at. I'm in a tough spot, career-wise and employment-wise, and you're hearing all these reports, and they're true. Technically, numbers are up, and this and that, and gas prices are down. But we have to admit that you're still feeling the effects, and it's still hard for all of us to get by, and the job market is crazy. So I'm trying to find hope. But even just today, like Pizza Hut in California is about to cut like 13,000 delivery people, or maybe 1,300. I apologize. I may have read the number fast while I was getting ready for the show. But they're cutting a large amount of pizza delivery positions because of the federal minimum wage being raised and da-da-da. So it's like I can't even fall to the bottom of the barrel and deliver food. And by the way, that's not the bottom of the barrel because it's the barrel I love to be in, food. But you know what I mean? Like I'm not above any job, but now sometimes those jobs are starting to go away. And all for this corporate greed doesn't even taken the full account of what's going on, just the constant the repression of the labor that makes them. The Pizza Hut CEO is making X amount of dollars, and he could fund all the salaries himself if he wanted to. He's not going to, but it's just you see those numbers, and that's, as the year ends, is becoming more and more disheartening for me. So I'm trying to be uplifting to you, Alden, but we can't even deliver pizzas in California now.
No, and then that's just going to enable the group that we love to make fun of the most in this world, the tech bros. It'll enable them to take their Door Dashers and their Uber Eats drivers and everybody else and treat them worse because they will have even more control over that. And then, or maybe it'll all go away, and then in 20 years, some tech bro will say, "What if we had people that delivered pizza?" Because they love acting like they invented ideas.
At Big Lou, for Big Lou's Clubhouse, a lot of the pizza places near me have moved to using DoorDash for deliveries. And absolutely, and they have, and those are affecting the shops and taking away the jobs, and it just spirals out of control. But I love what you're saying, because that's where I'm at with like cable TV. I currently use YouTube TV Live just so I can watch sports live and all that kind of stuff. And it costs a pretty penny, and I can't afford it. It's a credit card purchase, straight up tell you that. And I'm like, this is amazing. Why can't we all go back to this? And I was I was on board with streaming. I still love the concept of streaming. All these things in front of me by the press of the button, that's amazing. We didn't have that back in my day, but it's so funny that now what is old is new again, right? I'm like, this is refreshing. Just a channel thing with I can choose what's on right now. Sign me up. So you're right. Someone's going to reinvent pizza delivery.
100%. My favorite of the tech bro things that was a small story this year was because it was just a concept, but somebody was talking about what if we had massive kites attached to cargo ships that could pull them across the ocean. And someone was like, "Bro, you just invented sails. Like we had them." We had them.
I got to see that story. That's amazing. I got to see that story. Oh, that's fascinating. We're rolling along here, looking back at some of the stories that moved us, scared us, and hopefully provided hope in 2023. We will have an official Q&A section. Like Alden said, those never go well, but we trust you in the audience. No, that's more about live convention panels.
100%.
They do
these
not go
Q&As.
well.
On our
These Q&As go
show,
great.
love them.
Yeah. But if you have a super chat, super thanks, or anything that wants to call attention to a question, we'll get to it at the end of the show. But you can join the conversation as we go along. I do want to talk Alden here, and I don't know where you want to go next, but this idea of 2023 was the hottest year in history or the hottest year on record. You mentioned the Hawaii fire, an absolute tragedy. And those things, this is part of what we were talking about earlier about you can acknowledge, all of us can maybe acknowledge a situation or a tragedy, but how you look at it and how you break it apart and how you parse it is key to all of us going forward. The Hawaii fire and the community that was absolutely destroyed. You look at it, and official cause might be, well, there was a wire fell down or whatever they said it was, but it was the extremely abnormally strong and hot winds that push along the fire in a record-setting tragic pace. And that's left out of the conversation a lot. And the people, this is a conversation I've had in life where it's like, there's no climate situation going on. That fire in Hawaii, that was man-made. Those sparks. And it's like, yes, sparks happen, but these winds were abnormal, and that's the conversation. And that's dominated my year too, of trying to find at least understanding all the reasons as best I can, and facing the truth of the situation, not just sticking to that talking point of don't worry, Al Gore was wrong.
Haven't like 9 of the 10 hottest years ever been in the last 10 years? Like it's just insane to me that climate denial is still a thing in 2023. Like there are some things that I understand the hold that they keep on people, like satanic panic. I can understand why that endures. I can understand why, like, things like border panic, like we just discussed. I can understand why that endures. Climate denial, like, don't you want a planet to be a bigot on? Like, isn't like, don't you? Like,
That's the way to sell it. Hey,
I just don't get it.
Are you enjoying being a bigot? Well, don't you want to keep doing that on a world that's not burning up? You should pay attention.
You can't hate minorities if there's no planet to hate minorities on. I just don't get, like, even like there are some things that should unite villains and heroes.
Yeah.
And having like there are moments literally in Marvel Comics history where Doctor Doom would sometimes, not do the right thing, but it would be an allyship of convenience, because we can't let the universe get destroyed if someone wants to rule it. And that's the thing. I don't get it.
Yeah. There's that's hilarious, by the way. That should be the new marketing. That we can we go to climate change headquarters and change that around. Reach the bigots.
Look, I guarantee there was that story that Joe Biden started to take AI seriously because he saw Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I guarantee I could get Joe to go along with the "Don't you want a planet to be a bigot on" campaign. He would probably be like, "That's a great idea, Jack." And
Jared goes with bigots in space sounds like the worst episode of Star Trek ever. I love that there. Big Lou has the thing, a good comment here. My dad has moved from climate denial to there's no way we could have enough effect on God's creation to change it. Yeah, that's part of it as well.
Interesting angle pivot there. And I don't even mean that in a condescending way. I really mean, like, when I said I don't know how it endures, that's an element I didn't consider. Is complete surrender to the we're not powerful enough to do anything.
Yeah, look, this is something we might have talked about on the show before, and I know I've heard it in my life. It's not from me, but so I apologize. I can't properly credit, but just this idea of, the planet will be okay. We won't be here. The planet will if it becomes a lava planet. Planet's like, great, we won't be here. Again, going back to what you said, bigots, don't you want to be here?
Yeah,
that's right. Right.
Like, what? How can you, like, the people that are afraid of like the great white people replacement theory bullshit? It's like, guess what? Like, you can be eradicated by climate collapse too. It doesn't need to be my generation of snowflakes coming to get you and replace you with queer people of color.
Yeah. See, PLD and Laser Blues right to me. It's a Carlin bit, but I swear I haven't heard it from Carlin. It's been taken and run with by a lot of folks. That's amazing. Yeah, That's amazing. That's the way it works. Anything else in the main? There's a lot to get to, and we're just kind of looking back and seeing how it affects us. Well, don't worry, folks. We're going to start looking ahead shortly here. But there's some minor headlines. There's a lot of things. You
Yeah.
forget that this was the year of whales attacking ships.
Hell yeah. Love them. That's all I got on whales is hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Have you seen that meme, Ken? That's like dudes will see this or guys will see this and just think hell yeah. And
Hell
it'll
yeah.
be like a chimpanzee wearing shades. Like that's how I feel about the whales. Like there's like yes, lives lost. If I don't know if anyone's actually been killed in those, but
I'll
is
look
it
that up. I don't know.
is it sad if anyone died? Of course it is. But are whales being like, get the hell out of my territory? That's great to me. I'm
Yeah.
in. I'm in for that.
I'm doing a Google search, but there's a I typed in "did the whales" as if Google knows I'm speaking of these whales kill anyone, and then there's Kiko the whale kill anyone, Shamu the whale, and has anyone ever been eaten by a killer whale? There's a lot of people searching some good things out there. We'll find out the answer later on.
Interesting. I also wanted to touch on real quick. We have all hail King Charles ? And yeah, he exists. He's king now. Interesting note for both of us.
Yeah.
This year we both went to London for Star Wars Celebration. It was both of our first time there,
Right.
and that means you and I, amongst our friend group, are a couple of the only people that have never and will never be in Elizabethan England. We were in Carolingian England.
Wow, look at that.
Like some of our best friends, like Nikki and Joseph Scrimshaw, and like those guys, and of course our friends that have lived there their whole lives and are from there.
Maddie Gunner, yeah.
Like Elizabethan England was everything everything that came out of that nation that is culture relevant now for the most part is Elizabethan England, and we've never been there, and it's gone. So that's interesting.
That's I never thought that. I did think I was at the old Cheshire Cheese pub, and they have a list of all the rulers that the pub's been open under, and there's a spot they needed to add King Charles. I think they were waiting for the coronation the next month, just in case something happened, But that's fantastic. Maddie Gutter, our UK correspondent, says you missed nothing. I promise. Yeah. We were in London for Star Wars Celebration. That was April, and the coronation was in May, which seems like a different lifetime, right? When we were all just having fun, just absolutely making fun of King Charles, which is justified. But the coronation, I think maybe Maddie or one of our UK correspondents can help us with this. I think the coronation was supposed to be earlier and around the time of Celebration because hotel prices were insane, and then suddenly they weren't. I think King Charles was like, "Whoa, Star Wars is in town. They're not taking the spotlight. I got to go to May."
Which we joke about, but he did go to set, right? In the sequels.
That's right.
Him and his sons, they were all there. His sons are in Force Awakens. We've just never actually identified where they are.
Oh,
they're troopers.
Right, that's right. Or and was one of them in that Tom Hardy deleted scene with Finn and Rose?
Maybe. Yeah, you might be right about that. Might be Harry.
I don't follow Star Wars.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. That's a 2024. We're moving on from Star Wars. We're gonna be Stargate guys. We're gonna bring it back.
Did you already put this comment up? I think you did. This is hilarious. Will McLean, good for the whales.
Good for the whales.
Good for the whales. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Will. Man.
Twitter became X this year.
I can't believe that was this year. I thought that was like 2 years ago.
It feels so weird. Time-wise, the time is absolutely broken. Twitter became X in what I can only describe as, and I'm not a business history expert or even an internet history expert, but I will confidently say the worst brand change maybe ever of anything.
Well,
ever?
Because of the fact that they can't officially be X. X.com was something they couldn't touch, right?
Yeah. The links are Twitter still.
The links, so even Twitter, even X calls itself Twitter.
It's really, really just a fascinatingly dumb decision from an insecure dude bro who got enabled by the wrong people.
It's a stunning collapse, and Dylan Barry kind of goes where we want to go with some of this conversation. Threads became a thing too, and then Threads almost immediately did not become a thing. Though I'm still on it every day, I still poke through, but the 80% decrease in usership shortly after it launched. After a great start, I mean, it looked like, ooh, here we go. The fracturing of social media is an absolute concern, and it's one of the big stories for the year. And it's a minor story in a lot of things, but when it combines with the news stories, when it just I've made this reference before, but like when an earthquake hits in L.A., I can't go to earthquake Twitter. And yes, there was a lot of dumb jokes and fun tension, people releasing tension with jokes, but also information. And that's just a little earthquake, a 4.1 in LA, where you just want to go, whoa, what was going on? And we
Yeah.
saw several times this year with the fracturing of social media, we had built up this water cooler for the world to hang out at. And yes, we ruined it with bad takes and alt-right Nazis and all that stuff. But the exchange of information is harder. So you and I can complain about, hey, we can post a link to our show and no one's going to find it. But if people post links with actual information of news or what's going on, which is the power of social media, there's the downsides, yes, but the power was, hey, there's an injustice going on and I'm shining a light on it because I have a voice. That is rapidly eroding, and that has a lot to do with a tech bro dumbass who's ruined rockets, cars, and now social media, bringing a sink into the office. And it upsets me when you think about it that way.
Oh man, and the recall too. That got in almost at the finish line of the year.
Yeah. The Tesla recall. Yeah.
And now the people posting their images of Tesla screens being like it's not drivable because of whatever like update, and it's just, again, we reinvent things to the point where they don't work because these are people that all they can do is be adjacent to things that have existed. They're leeches. They're ideological leeches. Like
ideological leeches. That's
it's crazy.
It's destructive.
Now we have entertainment usually later. Why don't we put entertainment here?
Yeah.
As we finish 2023. Yeah.
It's all relative. Yeah.
Yeah. So right here, top of entertainment, something that will probably be the first outright positive thing that we talk about this whole show, 50 minutes in, is Barbenheimer. Which is something that fascinates me on a few different levels. I love both these films, of course, if you couldn't figure it out from what it has come to be known as, Barbie and Oppenheimer. It started off just comedically because people that love movies could see the release dates and be like, oh, that's kind of funny. And from isn't it funny that these two things are being counter programmed against each other on the same day, turned into what I could only describe as like social media guerrilla programming. Like people really, I think this year found that they were passionate about being able to choose things, whether it's from an ironic place or not, to choose things that could impress them, could make them feel like they were a part of something. And people decided that they were going to push both of these things to the moon. And sure as shit, they are both billion-dollar films released on the same day, which should kill one of them. And it's so fascinating. People wanted to be a part of things. Ironically, even though this is the year that Marvel has died and come back and died and come back and died and come back a bunch of times, I think this is the first time we've seen that since the MCU got big. Like early MCU, it was, guys, we can get more out of the story because it all connects, right? Like that was the selling point. And people are, tired of that now in whatever degree. And now it feels like we can pick anything and make it our moment.
Yeah. I love your angle on that, your perspective on that. I think that's truth. And PLD, who has a great review show of the 80s TV event, you should all check out, called Revisit. Is that what it is, Paul? One of the few cases of organic marketing. Yeah, having just talked about the fracturing of social media, this was an example of the power that can still exist in it, the organic discovery of this. But I love what you're saying. There was this kind of pitting against them, this dare I say, and I'm not saying everyone intended this, but there's this man movie and destruction, the killer of worlds. Let's go dig deep into history, as we should, with a great filmmaker, cinema being had over here. That's against this. And look, Barbie became what it is, and stayed what it is because of the quality of it. It's a movie that I absolutely love, and it affected my life. It really, truly did. But we didn't know that. I think there was great hope with the people involved, Margot Robbie, Greta Gerwig, all that stuff, Ryan Gosling. But we didn't know. It could have been the worst toy picture in history. But going in, people, I love your angle on that. Like, no, How about both? We choose both. How about we choose joy, not violence, joy.
Yeah, we want to celebrate movies, and there's lots of the the small details,
Mm-hmm.
of their genres, of who's involved. Like you mentioned, some of those great names, but it really felt like people really taking hold of it and saying, "No, we like the idea that they don't fit. We like the idea that different things, different
Right.
aesthetics can exist together. We want to lament the atomic age, and we want to dance to Dua Lipa at the same time." It feels very much
Yes.
of the
Might
clashing
have.
of like how much are you holding at the same time in your brain, and people just got, I think, maybe especially tired at the last few years of their movies being delayed, or the pandemic, or being
Oh
locked
yeah.
up. And I think it
Yeah.
was definitely a joy meets pain with the right generation to be able to say ironically that it's great, because there's a little bit of there's a little bit of each film in the other, right? Like
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
Barbie dancing and
Sure.
then stopping to say, "You ever think about dying?" But then in Oppenheimer, you have little moments that get you sort of hyped, and Robert Downey
Yeah.
Jr., and it's weird, very weird.
I love that. Will we dance to Dua Lipa as the world ends? Damn right we will, says Maddie Gunner, and
I
you would
will.
know. No, it's an absolute phenomenon that will be studied. There'll be documentaries about this, right? A great Netflix series called Barbenheimer, the 4 days in cinema bliss or something like that. That's it was fun to be a part of. It was fun for about a week to see someone dressed as Barbie and get to say hi Barbie. Like I loved all of it, and again, I really do love your angle on it. It was the whole movement. I think was a bit of a pushback against the traditional. I'm not even talking about traditional in terms of society or culture, but traditional movie marketing.
Hmm.
Don't see that. You don't want to see that. We're counter programming with this. If only this had happened for that Tina Fey, Amy Poehler movie that was up against Force Awakens, that we could have enjoyed both.
Oh, that's so true. God, I want to remember the name. It's not Baby Mama, but they've worked together so many times.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I bet you Tarantino is out there like, why couldn't you guys do Star Wars: The Force Hateful Eight? Like, why couldn't
Yeah.
you help me? It's very, very funny.
That's amazing. Thanks for the super chat, JFB, and we'll come to that in the Q&A. Love that there. There you go. Yeah. Entertainment. What else you got? There's a lot. There's a lot to we could summarize the year in entertainment in its own show.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to do here in entertainment, but I think, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the strikes. We actually began this show with strike coverage as it ended.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime with Ken and Alden hasn't existed in a strike world. But
Oh
to
yeah.
look back on that, I mean, that
Sure.
was one of those glimmers that we talk about. That was one of
Mm-hmm.
those things that it was gnarly, it was nasty. I think it was 191 total days from the beginning of the writers to the end of the actors. Like
Yeah,
if you
that seems
combine
right.
the time frame of both. So Hollywood was in one or both strikes for 191 days when people lost so
Mm-hmm.
much and were forced to give up so much. But they both won, and I think it showed people, especially a whole different generation of artists that were kids maybe during
Mm-hmm.
'07, like I was,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, that they answer to you. They need you, which I think was very inspirational in a dark time.
No, and I want to keep going with that, but David McKay does his sisters is our answer. That was the Faye Polar movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, being up and around and walking through this city during 2007 and '08, and having a project that some friends and I had directly affected by that strike that never really ended up. Well, it did see the light of day as the reworked digital piece, but yeah, here's what I like about it. Going back to even, I'm not directly comparing the Hollywood strikes to Ukraine. I want to be clear about that, but the same kind of conversation around it, where this time around there was more understanding of why. Not everyone maybe agreed. Not even people on the strike line agreed about the why, but there's an understanding of the why. There wasn't just these richies are striking for more money. It was part of a greater understanding of the labor movement that is going on or that needs to continue to grow. And I think generally, and not everyone got it. Not everyone. One of the major striking points was AI, and then if you're going to post strike immediately release your deepfake AI digital content that absolutely steals from one of the actors playing one of the most iconic roles, then maybe you didn't stop to understand what was going on. But I think on a larger level, people did. And that's a glimmer of hope as well, that it does. The strike of actors and writers, the strikes of actors and writers does connect to the strikers at a warehouse in Michigan or at a plant in Ohio. It's all connected. It's a symbiotic circle, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would tell Boss Nass. And I think that was the glimmer of hope I'll take from that as we move forward. Because we're seeing it now. Prices of streamers are raising. We talked about the Pizza Hut cuts, everything. You're going to see these corporations try to hold on, play the victim. The entertainment world is still going to have to recover. There's not a lot of shows and movies in the pipeline. The numbers will go down. The money will go down. We're still in it, but that's where all my rant, Alden, is. I think there was a larger understanding of the big picture.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it now when Prime just announced that they're raising. They're adding ads. They don't want to say they're raising prices. What they're saying is we're adding ads, and or you can give us $2.99 more for an ad-free tier. Bastards. The conversations, usually the conversation would be online, especially amongst and I don't say this in a condescending way, the layman, just the person out there, the lay folk, as they say.
The lay folk.
The conversation normally would be, well, that sucks. Well, got to pay $2 more. But now you see the conversation is, and they did this because they decided to bleed money and they wanted to play hardball. And I think that they have made people angry and aware, which is a dangerous combination. Yeah. And this is not the last time we see this. I mean, IATSE still has, their renegotiation in 24, like tags coming up. Like, there's going to be, and trust that the people from IATSE and TAG and these other groups that were there now, the favor will be returned. This is not a where was Gondor situation. We know where Gondor was. They were there. Dylan Barry here. I'm glad you brought this up. Is the AI boom a part of entertainment? Unfortunately, yes. Is it all connected? Yeah. I mean, we joked about one of our great cinematic heroes using a one-word response to a grifter and dunking on him in regards of AI. It's a problem. We've talked about it a little bit on this show, not to do the whole go back and watch but we did have a great conversation about the Sports Illustrated story and joked about us being replaced and talked about as radio guys that have worked in this industry, how long until voice tracking is replaced by AI, how long until the spots are being done by AI. So it's a very real fear. And I am glad that Joe Biden watched Mission Impossible and wants to do something about it.
God bless art, man. God bless art. God bless Tom Cruise. God bless Tom Cruise, I think he's been AI for about 10 years.
Anyway, Xenu bless.
Xenu bless. And of course, we know his part in AI, the Spielberg film. Dylan, it's definitely part of the story this year. And AI, I put in the notes of AI kind of arrived to stay, but it's been here in various forms for a long time, and there's no doubt about that. But the fact it's part of the national conversation. When my mom and dad, again, not picking on mom today, but that's my frame of reference for a lot of things. When they're having a conversation about AI or what is AI, that's where the issue and the entire situation has gotten to a good spot where we can have these conversations with everyone, where it's not in a corner, where, not you and I weren't on an island, but last year, you and I, at this time, a year ago, we're losing a job that would have made my year nice. I would have had a smoother year, but when you and I were replaced by AI, my parents didn't understand what that meant. Now they do.
Yeah. Jobs that were easy and paid well and would have gotten, lots of clicks because that's what they were designed for. Someone realizes, well, why have people do it? But you know what? Whoever said that, and this is at every company, it'll come for them too. And it sucks, but you unleash it. It's in your walls, dude. So
It will come for you. Indeed, indeed. Dylan asked a question that kind of leads into another thing in the entertainment thing here, Alden. We cannot have a look back at 2023 without talking about Taylor Swift, without talking about Beyonce, without talking about their concerts. Literally, documented proof helping economies and the economy, capital T, capital E. Amazing stories, and Beyonce's, both these artists have been going for a long time. Don't want to overlook Beyonce this year, what she does, but without a doubt, Taylor Swift, for a lot of reasons, I'm sure, some good, some bad, became the story. And then she starts dating Travis Kelce, and then that helps the economy of football jerseys, that without a doubt. And then Taylor Swift affects, voter registration. 2023 will absolutely be remembered as a year of Swift for me.
Yeah, I mean, whether, love or hate her, I'm very much indifferent to her. I did drop a Taylor Swift tweet yesterday, which had a lot of people confused, but it was just a genuine thought. I said I thought Taylor Swift would really like Attack of the Clones, and I stand by that. But it's it's such a romantic, pulpy, like she'd be writing about the lake house and the fireplace, and like I see it. But yeah, right. Let's talk about this right here on that subject of Taylor. She gave her employees $55 million in bonuses. Dancers, catering, truck drivers, lugging her gear, $100,000 each because she could. And it's been documented. She has her documentary on Netflix, I believe it's on Netflix, where you could see her sort of being cautioned to maybe not be political, but her realizing that it's her responsibility and she should be. And I think that evolution has been really cool. It's easy for me to make jokes, and I do sometimes, of like, when the Kelce breakup happens, the next album is going to be amazing. But like, maybe when the Kelce marriage happens, the album will be amazing. Who knows? We could choose positivity. I don't know anything about the Kelces or really the NFL at all. He seems like a swell. That's my take on Travis Kelce.
I do want to talk about Travis Kelce for a little bit, and I'm a lifelong Miami Dolphin fan, and I'd stopped watching regularly for years, but this year I'm all in, most likely because the Dolphins are actually doing really good. There's some interesting conversations to be had around Travis Kelce because at his brother over in the Eagles. I saw this one tweet that I really agree with, and Adam Knight with a super chat. And Adam Knight might be this type of guy to jump in on the conversation too. Adam works in pro wrestling, and I worked in that for years. And there's a certain type of guy around that, and there's a certain type of guy around the sports world, especially if you're playing football. And there's a lot of negative things around those guys. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of them who need to sing the I'm Knuff song and I'm Knuff and understand it. But Travis has this, like, he's just a good bro guy. That thing that happened where everyone was looking at his tweets from 10 years ago, and they were all like, talking dog. He's not a dummy. He's vaxxed up. He's on the right side of fights. He's just good at football. He's amazing at football. And maybe he sought this girl out, a girl, she's in her 30s, and treated her right and is still treating her right. And maybe we could just celebrate that too. That maybe in this world that is the patriarch runs and oppresses and toxic masculinity and all those buzzwords that we can talk about and get me, ruffle my feathers because I have friends I've absolutely had to cast aside because they're just absolutely the definition of toxic masculinity. Here's this guy who's like, yeah, man, I like her and I treat her right and I just want to have a good time and do what I'm really good at. I think he should be celebrated as well.
I agree. In 2024, we're gonna do a Taylor Swift conversation, maybe on our Anytime channel. Something I know we know some experts, some people. I know we do.
My friend, my friend, author and poet Zara Lisbon, her whole life has been Taylor. And my old Screen Junkies coworker, Parker Roberts, she's actually gone viral with her love of Taylor. Yeah, and a lot as well. So we'll do that. But it was interesting, and I want to go back a little bit to the Beyonce of it all. Here's someone who has been outspoken and got criticized for it, and has used her platform for good, and a lot of people have tried to tear her down as well. And she goes out and just changes the economies around her with what she did, there's I think it's important to have someone like Taylor go, yeah, maybe I should be speaking out. But we don't want to forget to highlight that Beyonce for a long time already has, and again, there's some reasons that maybe she gets pushed down in the conversation on the national level. We can address those and deal with
I
those as well.
wonder
But
what those
I
might be.
wonder what they are. I'm just trying to be polite, but I want to put her up there as well as someone who changed the world for good this year financially for those around her. That's an important thing too.
Yeah, there is that stratosphere, that strata, that echelon of person that is just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely uh almost godlike in their pop cultural importance, and both of those women are cemented in
Yeah.
that category. You only get a few of them every generation. In movies, less and less. In music, there tends to be that group, and we've seen some of those greats leave us. People
Yeah.
like Tina Turner, and but
Simply the best.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you get your
Sorry.
Beyonces and your Taylors that are, regardless of if that's your genre or not, it's
Yeah.
like they can say things and they can affect the actual world with words. It's amazing.
With
It
words.
really is.
With words. You can affect the world too, Alden, with your words.
God, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else in entertainment before we start looking ahead?
We talked about streaming a little bit. We have it here as the slow collapse because
Mm,
it's just going to become cable again. Like some people, you might go to
yeah.
Netflix and be like, "Why is The Dark Knight on here? Shouldn't that be on Max?" Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be. But they're
Yeah.
starting to partner. Paramount Plus, which used to be CBS All Access before it
Right.
merged, now has Stars. There was that horrific possibility rumbling of a Warner Paramount merger, which would kill one of the last Golden
Mm-hmm.
Age studios, and
Yeah.
let's all hope it just never happens. We are heading back toward cable. We are going to now they're going to call them packages or partnerships or whatever the hell they want to call them, plus, minus, gold, platinum, whatever. But it's
Oh
just going to
no.
be cable.
Yeah. Yeah. You're scaring me with Netflix Platinum. Yeah.
Even
No.
remember WWE Network? Now
I
it's a
do.
tab. Now it's just a tab in
Now it's a
Peacock.
tab. I used to pay $9.99 a month for WWE Network.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just been in Haskell's right. Our buddy Eddie checking in from NYC, naming it Max instead of leaving HBO or HBO Max is so stupid.
That's
It's just little things
yeah.
like that, and it's all part of this corporate culture. It's all part of once we started treating corporations like people. Thanks, Reagan. This is where we get to where I've subscribed to a lot of these, but it's like Disney, Hulu, ESPN, all in the same banner. And then if Disney gets bought by Apple, what is that? Now we're all going to need to switch to Apple TV. Is Disney Plus going to be a tab on Apple TV?
Ugh.
And it's all insane, and it's all for things that we do need because I love this stuff. I love entertainment. I love talking about it. It's a podcast thing for me with Force Center. Like, I love it all. We need art. This is art, even the really corporate manufactured art, and they're controlling how you get it. And it's an important look. You talk about Joe Biden being affected by Mission Impossible. This stuff is important, and it's scary to see what's happening to it. To have this stuff be locked away. I know we have some physical media warriors out there. Shout out to PLD and Adam Halavic and PJ Campbell and folks I know and Hector Navarro. I don't have all the room for physical media, which is why I like the concept of streaming. All of it with one button, great. But we see already it was never great. It was just another corporate tech broy way to disrupt and now destroy.
Absolutely. So again, lots of great stuff happened in entertainment. We have some questions here that we'll be getting to where we'll be able to address some of our favorites and things like that. So I think unless there's anything else in minor headlines or entertainment that you want to take on, we can open up the floor a little bit here and start to dive in.
And look ahead to this next year and how we do it and get the absolutely. Let's do it. Whoa, here we go. 2023 is coming to an end, Alden. So that means we got to start looking ahead. I'll start with this for you. I got a question for you.
Yes.
You're a young man. How do you look ahead? How do you even approach it? You said earlier it doesn't even matter. And I've been in that spot. This year it matters for me. But where are you at?
I feel like I really want it to matter. And I don't know if it does. Similar with birthdays. I think New Year's, it's like, oh, is this just okay? We're just going to keep going. I think New Year's Day is a Monday. So it's like, oh, it's just a Monday. And trying to find that meaning, we have some notes here about sort of This is the classic conversations: resolutions versus intentions. By the way, if anyone has New Year's resolutions that you want to drop here in the comments, please share them. We promise we will encourage you, unless it's beyond the pale. But like I've given up a little bit on resolutions. I do like the intentions label more. It's like I can't make a New Year's resolution to like I will lose 25 pounds by this day.
Right.
Like I just that pressure I think is counterintuitive to actually solving things. I just wanted to start off relaxed.
So there's a natural relaxed. That's going to be Monday for me. You know what I did on Christmas? Grace and I traveled. I had shows up in Seattle with Mark Ellis and Lisa Wallen. Got back on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, I played about 11 games of Madden franchise mode, watched football, and ate bad food. It was one of the greatest Christmases I've ever had. Relaxed is what to look at. From a generational standpoint, what you're describing is, I think, a natural kind of progression with the thing. We grow up with, I'm not saying it's from your mom or anyone around you, family-wise or friends, but you grow up with this resolution, the ball's dropping, clean slate, we start over, go join the gym. And we're all raised with that. Then at one point realize some of that's silly, some of that's pointless. It doesn't all reset to zero on January 1st. Your problems stay with you. Your work, your job stays with you. But then you get to that point you're talking about. Intentions are important. Goals versus dreams. I think you're in a good spot. Do you feel that's happened naturally for you and those around you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, actually, right on time is thine own mother that says no resolutions this year. I just want to live my best life possible. Only things that make me happiness. Yeah, I mean, mom's got the right idea. That's like I think one of our Facebook viewers, by the way, which just cracks me up. It's just like the ability to say it is all one story. It's all one life. The chapters are the chapters don't begin and end with the number of the year. The chapters begin and end where you want them to. Or I've talked about how much you recently hurt my feelings, but CM Punk once said, the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. A little bit ironic coming from that particular person, but that quote hits.
Yeah, it really does. And look, he's watering his grass right now in Madison Square Garden. It's okay. Yeah. And the follow up to that, that's a natural kind of arc, and I think it's the right way to look at it. I've seen so many people do the year's I gotta put the year behind me, but also the older you get, the number one, it happens so fast. But two, this year more than any, a lot of people in my age group, the right smack dab middle age group, are feeling what the opposite, not the opposite, but the natural progression of I need the year to switch. I need to put this behind me. And just looking at these news stories, I need to that's a Billy Joel, we didn't start the fire montage. I need to kind of put there, and I need to start anew. And that turning of the page is valuable. I've always liked the turning of the page, this weird calendar construct we have for ourselves. But I think with everything gone on, there's a breath that we're all going to take next week. And I'm okay with that. And I think you would be as well. But I think that's part of the arc too, is enjoying the new chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing that you're writing them. It doesn't need to be the year of X, Y, or Z. It's just the year of whatever you do next. Frozen 2's got a song about that. It's just the next right thing.
Yeah. There's a band called the Moonagers that has a song called Last Step First about this is the first page of the second chapter, the one you never thought you'd write. I don't know who wrote that song, but they've got to be relatively okay. That's kind of a feeling in my life too as well, that failure is opportunity. I sound like a football coach. I literally think I'm quoting Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, after their Monday night loss to Tennessee. Failure is an opportunity if you choose to make it so. And that can get into some weird, white guy podcasty advice. You just got to choose. But I think there's a spirit behind it I really enjoy.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to break out into the Any Given Sunday inch speech.
You know what? I've never seen that film. You know what? I'll tell you why. I don't like fake sports uniforms.
Interesting.
And that did not have the NFL licensing or backing. So there's it's like the Miami Sharks or whatever it is. People watch the movie will put in comments. And I don't like fake sports uniforms.
That's fascinating to me.
So it's supposed to be real.
That's supposed to be real. So if they make up a team for whatever, like the longest yard, make up a
Yeah,
team. That's
that's
not
fine. Yeah,
about
yeah.
the
Or
NFL. Yeah.
it's not like basketball. Like I'm like, those uniforms. But I'm just like, here's professional baseball movie, and it's like, the Los Angeles Sunrays or something. Nah, don't like it.
That's so funny. Oh, this reminds me. I have to sneak this in. Right
Yeah.
at the end of the year, the greatest meme was made, which is Lord of the Moneyballs. The Moneyball Lord of the Rings crossover memes are the best memes
Yeah.
possibly ever. I love them so much. I know some people got tired of them quickly. I didn't. It
Yeah.
is so funny because the
Oh, I love
crossover
it.
between of people that like Moneyball and our Lord of the Rings fans has to be tiny. Has to be.
Uh,
Uh
I've always. Do you? I saw some. I saw you comment on it. I'm gonna take a deep dive into it because it's right up my alley. I
mhm.
love Moneyball. Uh, I'm like, but in my head, I'm like, I'm one of 5 people that like it. But Moneyball's a pretty popular movie, right? Like, I sound like an old guy.
It's shown itself
You're
to
not a
be
sports
that
guy, do you?
now.
Okay, yeah.
But I
Mm.
like Moneyball because Moneyball is I like a lot of great sports movies. It's about ideas. It's not about the
Yeah, yeah,
actual like.
totally. I know you're there
So
for the themes. Yeah,
yeah, so like the long and short of it for anyone that hasn't watched is that somebody took a screenshot of people, shitting all over a decision that a person had made, saying like, "What was bro thinking? What is he thinking? He's not up to anything." And someone said, "Oh, it's Saruman talking about Elrond spending 4 roster spots on hobbits." So then somebody quote tweeted that with Brad Pitt and Moneyball saying this was Elrond selecting the Fellowship, and then it took off, and it's just
that's
oh
amazing.
god, it's funny. Someone was
God, that's
like,
so true.
we should get Tom Bombadil, and then it's Brad Pitt saying, no, Tom Bombadil would forget he has the ring. We take Tom Bombadil's budget and we bring in 4 halflings. Like,
It's so true. God, that's why I'm always puzzled that people like Moneyball who aren't like hardcore baseball fans. But you're right; it's the ideas, and the ideas translate.
yeah,
Because it is about a early 2000s Oakland A's team that has no money to compete with the top of the league, and
yeah,
and they do, and they almost win. They almost beat my Yankees a couple times. Yeah, and it's like it's so true. I never thought of it in those.
because
That's
it's
true.
like
See,
Moneyball is like in that category with like Steve Jobs, which is one of my favorite films, the 2015
yeah,
with Fassbender. It's in the category with like Big Short, where it's like I don't know anything about baseball. I don't know anything about real estate. I know very little about like the history of personal computing. I the layman's version of it I know, but all of those are about how can you outthink them,
that's
and that speaks to me. So Lord of the Money Balls, best meme.
there you go, and proof that there's still power in the internet if we hold on to it and use it for good.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we are.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some questions here on the subject of these resolutions and everything. I brought this one
Okay.
up from Dylan. 2024 is the last year of my 20s. I'm right behind you. You turned 29. I just turned 28. I feel the need to go on a wild spree of debauchery. Good idea? Bad idea? Ken, what was it like being 29?
It was depressing. I look. I wish I had. Oh man, I don't know which way to go with this. Here's why. Because some of the advice I've given folks was age is this weird number, and the 30s are okay. I had a great decade in the 30s. I changed a lot. I became who I wanted to be even more. But even the 40s have been better, despite a lot of struggles. I had two minds. One was I wish I went out and had a little bit more fun. The spirit of Dylan's question, debauch more, as JMB says here. But also, I wish I worked harder. And I don't mean that I bought into the hustle culture and everything, but I wish I respected my career choice and path a lot more in my 20s because I had a little bit of I'll figure it out. And I'm not talking about figuring out, like a guidance counselor telling you what you want to do. I was in town knowing what I wanted to do, but I didn't do that. I wanted to spend more time relaxing. It's still a problem. It's probably a theme in my life. But if I can work an extra hour or start playing Madden or Fortnite, I'm going to play the video game, and that's a problem. But in my 20s, there was too much, not balance, because I think balance is good, but there was too much of I'll figure it out tomorrow. But at the same time, I also didn't debauch myself fully, so maybe I should have debauched more and then worked harder or later.
Oh, we got right here. Molly Damon turns 29
Yes, she
soon
does.
too. She does. That's a confirmed fact. I know that for sure.
Shout out to Molly Damon. I because of the fracture of social media, I get to things late.
Yeah.
There was a lot of kind words being said around Molly,
Yes.
who has always been Molly to me, and not just Alex's wife. And I know I saw
Yeah.
that was part of the conversation. So
Yeah.
I just want to join in, Alden, and say Molly Damon's one of my favorites. She's a great dinner conversation around Thai food in London.
Yes.
And cheers to you, Molly. And I want to go get drunk on that show you do with Jill again. Let's do that soon.
And a great conversation around smokehouse bread.
That's true
Which we
too.
both know to be a fact.
Yeah.
Truly one of the greats. Molly will be on this show in 2024. I'm saying
Yeah.
that confidently, like she agreed to it. She absolutely will be. She's one of the best, and her trophy husband is cool too.
Yeah. He's all right. He's all right.
He's fine. He's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the subject of that, I'm wondering, you know, that you talk about that balance, but also the wishing that you had worked harder in the positive way, not in the grind way.
Yeah.
Do you think part of it is like you look back on it with a little, like a tinge of regret, but also forgiveness for younger you? Because how could you have known at that moment? Like,
Yes.
you would have to go back in time and remove anxieties that you couldn't have solved.
Yeah. Look, and sometimes you're told the truth. And shout out to Alex, who says thank you. Yeah, look, and look, you find different things along the way. You got to change, you got to adapt, you grow. But there were times you just can't. You can only be where you are, and I think you have to. I have to forgive myself for that. And even in small ways, I going into my Seattle shows, I didn't get up on stage a lot because one, I got sick, I missed a show because of COVID, all those kind of things, and I was beating myself up of it. And as I was flying to Seattle, I thought to myself, just forgive yourself. You can't change where you are right now. I
Mm-hmm.
can't change who I was in my 20s now, and I couldn't change it then. You had to experience it. I remember sitting with a coach at one of my teachers at the Groundlings, and she was telling me like, "Hey, here, I know some of your goals. Like a lot of folks, you want to get to Saturday Night Live, this and that, but
Mm-hmm.
don't just do what you're doing now. You got to try this because if you just do this, it's going to affect you negatively. You're going to find the Groundlings might not be your path forward. It might be another way." And I just was nope, 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 nope. Not stubbornly, but just like, no, this is this out of fear. Like I'm okay here. I don't want to try this and this and that. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
listen because, and that's it's not just about taking advice. It's just about I didn't listen because that's where I was. It's who I was at that time, and I can't change that. Just you can always change, but
Yeah.
you are still who you are in that moment. Does that
But
make
you
any
also,
sense?
it does. I mean, you can't stop change any more than you could stop the suns from setting. I
Mm.
think a wise fantasy matriarch once said that. And then I also
Mary,
think,
Mary, the mother of God. Yeah.
yeah. And I also think that you have said this exact quote here: "Don't fear change,
Hmm.
find your place
Oh,
within it." I mean, yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think the call's coming from inside the house. You know the answers. And so I guess my answer for 29, given that you are older than me, Dylan, by that year, and you're going to get to that last 20 as your first. A, let me know how it is, but B, yeah, I think we should try to be as present as possible because, as we've discussed, a lot of stuff is very finite and very quick to change, and things are falling apart. And uh, yeah, not to be morbid about it, but what do you have to lose? I mean, when are we going to be regretting our 20s during the
Yeah,
climate crisis? Like,
yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah, be here now, man. And look, I think there's a lot of themes running around that Barbie movie. The scene that got me crying early and kept me emotionally connected to that movie was her early in the movie on the bus bench. I won't go into it for too much detail for those who still haven't seen the movie, but
Mm,
when I realized that was one of the themes of looking around and this is life and what have you missed and what can you connect to and what can you
yeah,
experience, that's a big one for me. And I wish I had that moment a little earlier in my life. So maybe that's my one bit of advice to you, Alden. I think you're a person, and you like you and so many like you. You're connected. You're engaged. You're dare I say woke in the most white man way. But just yeah, connect to all of it, experience it, lap it up, taste it, debauch every now and then, but also work for your goals. Make those resolutions reality.
yeah. And let's all take some more risks in 2024. let's take some risks, in the spirit
Yeah.
of groundlings, Ken, and like that idea of, if I move over here, is that going to be right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's always going to be time to recover.
Yeah.
It's good to scrape your knee once in a while.
Scrape that knee. Yeah. Shout out to my buddy Kingsport Cal. Can I cry? That's a Super Mario film. That shows you where I'm at. Yeah, that's good. I love
Look,
uh, Cal admitting to some great emotions there.
I'd be crying at everything nowadays, Kingsport Cal. So I get it. Um, all
Oh
right,
yeah.
let's.
Oh
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. No, I mentioned earlier that Vox 2023 year in review. I was crying at it because it runs through about 8 minutes of just horror. This year, a lot of horrible things happen, and it gets to the end. There's a young lady. I got to look up who it was. I apologize, I don't know, but she's giving a speech about I'm paraphrasing. The test is can we connect to each other? Can we love each other? And can we as humans survive? That's the goal, and we have to come together to do that. And I was just bawling. I was just bawling, and I'm badly paraphrasing it. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
poetic prose
no,
she's saying. You all
I
should
get it.
check it out.
I
You all
watched
should check it out.
the New Year's Eve When Harry Met Sally scene last night and just
I saw
started
you
bawling.
tweet that.
Just started bawling.
That is a that is, and I've mentioned it. That is a movie that I have seen more than any other movie in my personal history.
Wow,
It's
it's
why I
pretty
wanted to get in
perfect.
screenwriting. It also probably as a sad sack lonely guy for a long time. It probably maybe affected me somewhat negatively. Not in like a incel type of way, but just like I was a little over romantic, and that's not a bad thing, gentlemen.
Hmm.
But like yeah, that movie affected me in a lot of ways. But literally more than Star Wars, I could do it when Harry Met Sally explained. Sorry, Alex, I'll take that. I'll take that title.
When Harry Met Sally explained. So Billy Crystal's sweater. What you guys don't understand is that it's actually a sweater. Yeah, no, I would be one of the
Yeah,
few viewers,
and
but one of the few the proud.
dare I say, Carrie Fisher's second best performance of all time, just not to offend Star Wars people, including myself.
I would be inclined to agree. Last Jedi one, When Harry Met Sally two, and then you'll have a crowd that's like Blues Brothers, and it's like, yep, that's valid too. Very
Sure,
valid.
absolutely.
I got a
Yeah,
couple questions here. Do you want to jump to those, or do
yeah.
you
Let's
want
let's start
to?
looking towards
Yeah.
the end of the show by looking at some of your questions and also what you all are doing to prepare for the new year. What do you got?
Yes. I want to hear what's happening in all of your households, all your traditions. Rom-coms explained, started up. There you go. I love
Maybe
that.
that's what I need to do.
I love that.
Screw getting more politically active and having a show that deals a lot with politics. I should just do rom-com explain.
Rom-com explain. I agree.
Yeah.
Not a question, but a much appreciated message here. Happy
Mhm.
New Year, boys. Tay Tay's more for my daughter than for me, but she seems like a wildly remarkable young woman. I agree.
Yeah, and Adam, my buddy Adam, he approaches this world, I think, in the right way, and that comes from years of probably failure leading to opportunities he's taken in a lot of ways. I really look up to him as a tough man in a tough business with a soft heart and showing that that's possible. And what he said, I really like what he just said there. Tay Tay might not be for me, but that's not the end of the journey. And it's something
Mhm.
for my daughter, it's something for other people, and perspectives, empathy, understanding. And then you also might find some enjoyment because I do enjoy Taylor Swift song every now and then. I mean, I
Mhm.
really think she's great. I don't listen to her music all the time like I do like a Gaga or something else. But Adam, shout out to you as we go into the new year. That's a good approach.
Thank you, Adam. Right here, we have a question from JMB. This will require a little bit of noodling. If you
Mm,
guys haven't done
mm,
this already, could you give us your top
mm.
5 movies/shows of the year? So we're combining movies and shows. That makes it easy.
Mm-hmm,
Of the
mm-hmm,
year,
mm-hmm,
and one you couldn't stand. Thanks and keep up the great talk. Now, in general, I think I speak for both of us. Please interject though if you have anything to add. We are not. Here's what I disliked people, but
yeah.
possibly, we'll mention one that maybe challenged us or something. And then if anyone, in the next few days wants to hit us up and tell us why
Mm-hmm.
they liked it, great. Um, is it comfortable to say, Ken, that you start your list with Barbie?
100%. Barbie, Dial of Destiny, which people had to remind me recently, I think on Force Center, that I thought I only saw one movie this year. Barbie, no, I'd seen Dial of Destiny.
Yeah,
Um, and,
excellent.
and I got to say this about Dial of Destiny. The more I watch it, the more I think about it, the more I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, is it perfect? No, no. Does it rank here and here on the Indiana Jones list? Sure, whatever. Fun conversation to have. That movie, especially as I age, and I'm halfway to where Harrison Ford is. It is a movie about time. It is a movie about legacy. A movie about our histories, both in the world and personal. And I loved hearing Harrison Ford in that doc that I finally watched on Disney Plus. That at times is an EPK kit, but at times is a good doc. I loved Harrison Ford saying, I wanted to show Indy at this time. I wanted to play him at this age as he was,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important. So I take a lot of lessons from Dial of Destiny and Barbie this year.
Yeah, those are excellent picks. Is there a show that you watch? You want to throw in a show? I know getting to the top five,
It's tough
especially
for me.
amongst the strike year, is difficult.
Yeah, look, it's outside of Star Wars stuff, which I enjoy for life, enjoy for Force Center reasons, and I did, enjoy Ahsoka in the end. It wasn't my favorite,
Ahsoka, you had
but
Mando. Oh, Batch.
Bad. I'm glad you mentioned it. Bad Batch season 2 is my favorite season of Star Wars television. I won't say by far because that sounds rather, aggressive, but it is. It is everything I love about Star Wars. Is everything, including the surprise about I didn't. This is not a show I expected to love as much as I did, and where I'm at in my life, it is. It is as overtly political as Andor, absolutely overtly political as Andor,
Mhm.
particularly in some moments. But it's talk about workers' rights, socialism, not
Yeah.
wanting to talk about politics. That's one of the most important parts of that show. Is when Commander Cody says, I'm not here to talk about politics," and the former separatist says, "Of course you're not, because if you were, you might have to change your view of the world." I love that show, so I'll put that on there easily.
Yeah, a fantastic show. And if you are a Star Wars fan that hasn't watched it, if you're like a movies only fan, let me just say, possibly the greatest Emperor Palpatine scene of the modern era is in that show.
Mm,
So let that be a
yes.
little bit of a draw to at least check that out, and maybe that'll play in. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot, so I'm going to limit myself here. I will say. Just because I have Letterboxd, the only good social media app in existence, my favorite films are actually logged.
Mm-hmm.
It's a private list right now. Once I'm feel done, I will set it to public.
Go
Um,
public. Go
my
public.
top four movies of the year are Maestro, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Past Lives, and Godzilla Minus One. I
Mm.
cried 4 times in that Godzilla movie. A
Okay.
sentence that
Yeah.
sounds made up, but
No.
astounding. That movie will make you want to not just exist, but live. Godzilla Minus One is amazing.
Love
And
it.
then shows, Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I love Ahsoka. I love Mando, etc. The Bear, my God, The Bear,
Oh yeah, I haven't watched
uh,
it. Yeah, I know. I know. I know. I know.
incredible. Especially given that you have a professional actor that lives with you, I would kill to know what Grace thinks of that show.
Mm.
Phenomenal performances, and then also in TV, Our Flag Means Death. David
Oh yeah,
Jenkins,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Taika executive producing, like pirate rom com,
Mm.
uh, loud, proud, hilarious, queer, swashbuckling, lots of
Yeah.
fun. And is there anything else? I recommend rewatching or watching Mad Men. I'm in season 5 of my rewatch.
Yeah, yeah.
It just makes me so that's a personal thing. But yeah, this has been a
Yep.
great year.
Mm.
Maybe I'll do it on the Clips channel, maybe a 2024 like
Yeah,
preview or
yeah.
something. But I have 32 films on this best of list out of maybe 50 or 60 new that I've seen this year, and
God bless you.
I love so many of them. So good
God
times.
bless you. Yeah, that's where my stance on watching things. I just don't these days. Not because I hate anything. I just it's not where my life is. But I love watching Only Murders in the Building and shows like that, and What We
That
Do
had
in
a
the
season this
Shadows.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows is always a favorite of mine. I love that kind of stuff too. But I love hearing all your choices. Maddie Gunner, Baxi on the Bear, Dylan Barry, The Last of Us. Love for Slow Horses, Gary Oldman, Andrew Cunningham coming
Oh
in with a
yeah,
shot there.
Gary.
Love that. Kingsport Cal, American Fiction, The Creator, Missing, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, The Killer. A lot of great choices here,
Yeah.
and an interesting
Kingsport
year.
Cal. I bonded with my third girlfriend over Batman. I love the specificity. That's excellent.
Third. A lot of stuff out there, great stuff. But yeah, and I think you should. You should do a supplemental content video. There it is, that content word, and put on some of your favorites or the ones you're looking forward to.
Oh, and one that I didn't really care for, Rebel Moon.
So the day after Christmas, as Maddie Gunner says, Boxing Day, I was with Grace, her sister, her boyfriend, and there was some pushing towards watching Rebel Moon, and I was able to talk them out of it. We watched instead A Haunting in Venice, which was great. Solid.
Very nice. Little Brana action.
Little Brana, little Tina Fey.
You saved the household and you saved your own blood pressure.
Very happy that I didn't watch. What was that described? That review you saw of Star Wars? If it wasn't political and had sexual violence.
So yeah, Clarice Lowry. Clarice, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. It could be Lawfrey, it could be Lowry, from The Independent in the UK, said Star Wars, if it didn't have politics and had more sexual violence. So, and she's right.
Sounds about right. Which doesn't mean that there's some things for people to enjoy. I'm not here to.
I enjoyed stuff in it. Anthony Hopkins plays a droid or a robot, I guess, in that movie, and he's lovely.
Hey, that's good. That's good.
Question for you, sir, right here from Maddie Gunner. I was recently told that Portillo's is the best place to go for a sandwich in the U.S. Can he confirm or deny, as he is my utmost authority? You love sandwiches. We've talked about it. You're very passionate about
so Portillo's is well, wait a minute. No, see Portillo's. I don't know. No. I'm thinking of something else completely. There's
a Portillo's that's a hot dog joint, right?
Yes. See, Maddie, I don't know quite what I'm gonna have to look up. I know, yes, there's a Portillo's, there's a Porto's. And that has a lot of, oh God, you got to go there. There's like 2 locations, and I do not eat there. This was the subject of an entire episode of a podcast I did with Josh McCouga, and Grace was on that episode. It's wonderful food, but the line is around the goddamn corner, and I don't do that. Just like I've had 1 pink hot dogs in my life because the line is hours for an average hot dog. So Portillo's. I'll have to look. I'm gonna type while you're talking. You talk about sandwiches. Sure. I'm gonna try to answer Maddie's question.
Sure. I have not been to either what I'm thinking of or what this could potentially be, but I will say, Alex Backus, Steve Ellis, our BSR boys, they, I believe, are big Portillo's hot dog guys, I want to say. So I might have to shoot Alex a text and just clarify.
Okay. I have been to Portillo's, but in Chicago.
That's where I remember them talking about it a lot. Yeah.
Yes. And in terms of hot dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, because who doesn't love Italian beef sandwiches? It was good. I did have it. It was good. But that's not, maybe Maddie's thinking of Porto's. I don't know.
Possibly. Average hot dog. Hop the pink hot doggers don't come to your
it's not worth the hype. Same with In-N-Out, but eat what you like.
Kingsport Cal says I don't do lines either. I can make a good dog by the time I have someone else make me one. I mean, yeah. Now, are you anti-lines in general? Like, or
no?
For food?
I can wait with the best of them. Like if I'm at Disneyland and we're waiting for Pirates of the Caribbean for 45 minutes, I'm fine. Sure. I go to a zone. And I can queue. It's the things like that. It's food. There's other options, and a line doesn't immediately turn me off, but it's consistent lines. It's you got to go there. There's a lot of cafes in the LA area that you got to do Sunday brunch. You got to get there at 9 though, because you're gonna wait for 3 hours to get in. I don't need that experience, so that's why I don't like lines. But yeah, any other lines, a line to get in a movie, a line to wait for Attack my seats and Attack the Clones, no problem.
Yeah, I think in London I did a line for 5-6 hours or whatever to see some trailers. So sometimes you can be compelled. Real quick, Jared Kozel. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Jared. Has a super chat here with some recommendations. 2023 movies and shows. Oppenheimer, one of the best movies of the past decade. I agree. Past Lives, I cried a bunch of times. I'm editorializing your entries. Past Lives, I cried a bunch of times. Bad Batch, I also cried. Last of Us, I haven't seen. Don't throw things at me. I haven't watched it. And Beef, I haven't watched that either, but I know everyone I know that has seen it adores it.
Is that was that show, right?
Beef is a series, yeah. It has Steven Yeun. It's on Netflix.
Ali Wong. Yeah. Grace watched that. I kind of checked in and out of it. It had some moments. I know it had a problematic cast member that a lot of people got upset about, but
indeed.
Yeah. Anyways.
Ooh, Iron Claw, good shout. I haven't watched it yet. Oh, I want to.
Everyone I know from wrestling is saying gotta go see it. And yes, there's some historical inaccuracies. Yes, that's how movies are made versus the truth.
It's like when they had to put a tag, or people were calling for the Netflix to put a tag on The Crown to say it's not a documentary. It's like, yeah, if you think it is, your problem is bigger than The Crown.
Yeah, absolutely. We are almost done here. We're almost on our way out. This has been fun looking back and just realizing all the things that not only happened, but that we missed because we didn't start the show till late November, Alden. So we're looking forward to a full year. Any final thoughts as you look ahead, and anything you want to take from the audience as we start to wrap up here and look ahead to next year?
Yeah, I'm just loving seeing these recommendations. I'm enjoying some of these comments about lines. And I'm English. Queuing is in our DNA. I'm so glad you said this. Quick anecdote. When we were in London, we were walking around just seeing some of the iconic sites, some memorials. Nikki Kumar, who's worked with us on Casterly Talk, ISP, worked with me on Octa Radio, one of my best friends in the world, lived there for a while. He was showing us some things. And they had a queue for people who believe that COVID is a hoax and are anti-vax hoax conspiracy people. Even they queued for their chance to get into the little area where they could scream and yell.
Hey,
now that's incredible. That's incredible. Americans could simply never.
No, we're too impatient. Oh, that's funny. Love that. Yeah, looking ahead to next year. Yeah, Maddie Gunner says we queue for everything, brother. Let's look ahead. We always like to do our segment Your Week Ahead, and we'd like to predict the headlines. Here's my predictions. I'm going to choose hope, Alden. Number one, I think finally my prediction of Ron DeSantis dropping out of the presidential race will happen.
We keep punting.
Two, I do think Putin will lose at some point. How? I'll let you all decide in the world. And I do think, looking ahead to November, I'm going to choose hope. I think democracy will win, and the best choice for our country will emerge. And I do believe in my head that is ice cream eating Joseph Robinette Biden.
I thought you were going to say it was Dua Lipa, but I don't think she can't run.
She can't run, but
unfortunately, I would too in a heartbeat. Pawnee Paul 82 says "Winds of Winter" in 2024 as his potential headline. No. Simply no. A headline that I had in my mind is that we will bring back the woolly mammoth, but do nothing to save the animals that are here right now. Yes. I went down a rabbit hole of people trying to resurrect the woolly mammoth and the dodo, and there's millions of dollars being thrown into both of those processes, and we will bring them back and ensure that they just die again.
Yeah. Let's bring back the woolly mammoth. Meanwhile, like tigers are almost out of here. Let's figure that out.
Yeah. I also predict that the Acolyte will come out for Star Wars, and people will claim it's exactly what Star Wars should be, and that it was dead up until that show arrived. Yeah, that's another safe bet.
And I'm looking. That's my pick to click this year for Star Wars, and I agree with you. The discourse. That's another prediction. The discourse will continue to be horrible.
The discourse will continue to be horrible, and some of those perpetrators will continue to get paid.
Oh, final note here, and I want to get your thoughts for next year here. Yeah, I did have this. Dylan Barry asked, did we mention the UFO headlines from 2020? This wasn't a rundown, but I almost wanted to skip it because once you get me started on how much I just detest everyone in the UAP movement, and all of them are grifters, and it's all kind of a big lie, a lot of it connecting to defense contractors and our over-bloated military budget, the Chinese spy balloon, all that. I can't stop. So, Dylan, we might approach that again in 2024.
Oh, it's going to come up. I feel like it's going to come up, and we'll bring in We'll have to bring in like a panel of people that we know that are on this spectrum of belief. People like Jerry, people like Riley's a UFO person, right? Like
I know Riley and I were on the phone. Mark Riley and I were on the phone, and he appears on another show talking about it all the time. And I was just like, you got to watch the Stephen Greenstreet stuff. You got to watch Mick
yeah,
West, and he did, and he still, I still believe. And I'm like, I'm not saying there isn't aliens out there. I'm just saying none of the aliens, David Grush, Lou Elizondo, Leslie Keane, and that whole George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, none of that's real. But that's the dividing line.
we'll get Tom on. Yeah.
It's same with it because he's all in. He's all in with them too.
Oh man. Oh, we got a last minute comment here on the dogs. On the dogs.
Oh, I'm coming in late, but Chicago dog when I can. Got to get your veggies, but no ketchup. Jen, thanks, Matt. Jen Metal for the super chat.
Thanks, Jen.
Love a good hot dog. Love a good hot dog. That was, you know what? All right. We're gonna end this show, Alden. I actually got to make a call to the county office here in a bit. My number one highlight of 2023, other than family, Grace, Baxter, and Francis being in my life still. Other than that highlight, was finally having a street dog outside the LA Convention Center. It was perhaps the greatest hot dog I've ever had.
You think you'll be chasing that dragon for the rest of your life? Like
Yep.
trying to I gotta identify that one cart.
This speaks to what we were talking about earlier about don't live with fear. Try things, change, grow. I had never tried a street dog, despite going to these conventions for years. They're always outside the LA Convention Center or WonderCon or something like that. Sporting events, Staples Center, whatever it is now, Crypto.com Arena. This year I led that panel. I led a Star Wars panel with a lot of the creators behind the Mandoverse and everything. And I said, I'm going to treat myself to that bacon wrapped street dog. And I don't care what happens to my innards. Nothing happened to my innards. I got home perfectly fine. There was a lie told to me by Big Toilet that I needed to get home soon after this hot dog. It was a lie. And I should have purchased 2 dogs. So I'm going to go back and chase that dragon.
My big toilet. So just not to prolong this conversation, we will be wrapping soon. But I just got it. So you mean specifically in Los Angeles, or even when you've been in New York, you haven't stopped for a dog?
No. I always get a Times Square hot dog or a cart dog. Okay. Always. But there is especially at LA Convention Center, in and around LA Live, what is formerly known as Staples Center. There's a ton of wonderful folks who got their carts and they're grilling them right there with the onions and the peppers and everything, and they always smell so good. But there's always been this tug on your just society has tugged on my arm and said, "Don't get them. You don't want a dog prepared on the street, do you? Your stomach's constitution can't handle this." Yeah. And some of that times the voice was me. I said nuts to that, and I pushed through the fear, and I was rewarded with one of the most angelic experiences of my life.
Wow, incredible. The Lord's dog. I love that so much. That's incredible. Oh, man, I love that. Unless anybody has any last-minute questions, how about we talk about pop rocking and do a little
Let's do it here. Our final segment of every show is a pop rock word of wisdom to leave on, sponsored by my radio show, Pop Rockin' Radio. And tomorrow, Saturday night, live at 6 p.m. Pacific, I'll be doing a year-end show as well, playing and revisiting some of our favorite songs of the year, and especially songs from the Moonagers, that little band I know about. But this one, Alden, you chose, and I love it. Tell us about our pop rock word of wisdom.
This right here from the great Phoebe Bridgers, who is both a solo artist and a member of Boy Genius, the indie rock supergroup with Lucy Dacus and Julian Baker. From the song, I Know the End, felt perfect for the end of the year. The words are, windows down, scream along to some America First rap country song. A slaughterhouse and outlet mall, slot machines, fear of God. Windows down, heater on, big bolts of lightning hanging low. Over the coast, everyone's convinced it's a government drone or an alien spaceship. Either way, we're not alone. I'll find a new place to be from. A haunted house with a picket fence to float around and ghost my friends. No, I'm not afraid to disappear. The billboard said the end is near. I turned around, there was nothing there. Yeah, I guess the end is here.
That is absolutely beautiful. Phoebe Bridgers is great. Perfect.
Great.
Perfect end. Perfect end for our first soft launch of Anytime with Ken and Alden. Alden, it's been fun. We got Castley Talk still kicking around, our own stuff. Links are down below if you want to find us. So we'll start getting out of here. Alden, you leave with a big word of wisdom for everyone watching.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around once in a while, you could miss it. I wrote that.
You did. See you next year, folks.